from Palm Beach, but behind us again is the center of the action, I guess, Tehran, the city that we're hoping that sometime within the next year we can visit. I've been dreaming of that for a long time.
Yes, you have.
I've been speaking about it for a long time, including to people in Iran going back to at least 2010, 2011, almost annually, if not more. And ending my speech with next year at this time, I pray to God that we can meet together in Tehran. Because all of this discussion of imminent danger, did the president have the right to take military action based on the concept of imminent danger to the United States, is of course just objections raised by unpatriotic people who hate America and want to see us in danger. If you don't realize that every day for the last 47 years, the Islamic Republic of Iran constituted an imminent danger to the United States and Americans, then you're a fool, or worse. So when you think of the Americans that were held hostage by them, when you think of the American Marines killed by them, when you think of the Americans exploded by IEDs in Iraq, those who lived and those who died, those who are being cared for by Tunnel to Towers, for example. Those IEDs were largely put there by Soleimani, the head of the Iranian Guard, whose specialty was killing Americans. All you have to do to know that they're an imminent danger to the United States is to look at the case of the Iranian that was killed yesterday by us, who had spent several years with numerous attempts, 4 or 5 of which are documented in a criminal case in the United States, to assassinate President Trump before he was president, while he was president, and even the hope that they'd be able to get him after he was president. Or maybe you could take a look at the record of the case against a guy named Ajiri, I believe it was, Adhadri, who was convicted of attempting to blow up a New Year's celebration, Iranian New Year's celebration in Albania. Principal targets being Madame Rajavi and yours truly. This isn't a fantasy. This is a case tried to conclusion with a conviction, only to be followed by even a worse one, which was an attempt to destroy a gathering of somewhere around 100,000 people in Paris in 2018 that included Madame Rajavi and myself and Newt Gingrich and Judge Michael Mukasey and the former Prime Minister of Israel and Dr. Maria and many others. When we have on our guest very shortly, I don't think I can describe to you how many times he's been the focus of attempts, both those that have been discovered and thwarted, and those that we have intelligence about, and some of them in the United States. Nor can we possibly quantify the number of Iranian assassins that were able to come into the United States against one of the biggest financial supporters of the regime. That would be Joseph Biden. Only to be exceeded probably by his predecessor, Obama, who gave them the money in cash, for which they have not been held accountable, which is disgraceful. So I do not know why any serious American would undertake any analysis of whether there's any question that they were in an imminent danger to Americans, and that this president had the courage to do something about it. Well, the war is progressing about as well as it could. The idea that it's illegal is just as idiotic as the idea that there was no imminent danger. If this is illegal and the president of the United States needs to be impeached, well, they're going to have to impeach Obama and Biden first, since they had even less justification. The War Powers Act, which every president since it's been enacted believes is unconstitutional, says, according to the Congress that now is thinking about impeaching him, that you have to notify Congress 2 days before you take military action if there's an imminent danger to the United States. And then you have 60 days without congressional approval to proceed with what is necessary to protect our country. And then after 60 days, you have to stop, ask for a extension, or ask for a declaration of war.
Right.
Every president, since the last time we declared war, has conducted operations exactly similar to the operations, and maybe of greater substance than this one. How about the Korean War? Not declared by Congress, conducted by Harry Truman. Or how about the Vietnam War? Not declared by Congress, but conducted by Lyndon Johnson. Nixon ended it. Johnson began it. How about the original Iraqi action under Bush 41, and the second one under Bush 43? No declaration. Huh? How about taking out Gaddafi in Libya? Oh, when that was mentioned to the half-wit moron minority leader of the House, Hakeem Jeffries, he said, oh, that was very short. 8 months? This is 6 days. So we got 8 months to go, Hakeem. Boy, how pathetic is he? What about Obama's assassinating ISIS alleged terrorists, including an American citizen, using drones without any trial, without any public proof that they were terrorists? He didn't get permission from Congress. He just did it. So, is there anything else that the current elected members of the congressional delegation in the United States Congress who belong to the party of slavery, is there anything else they can do to prove to you that they hate this country? Because to create this problem, when our men and women are under fire in an action that is based on very similar action, if not even more significant action, taken by every prior president, including their own presidents, what else do they have to do to prove to you they're not worthy of representing us? And they need a new political party, because their party somehow has become afflicted by evil, with only one person who'll stand up for this country, John Fetterman. It's astounding. What they're saying about this war is absurd. and dangerous, really dangerous. In any event, the war is proceeding in the right direction. So I want to show you this if we can get it up, so you can follow it with me. This is the count since I guess as of about noon today. It has to have gone up a little, but it's rather complete. 2,000 targets hit. 73% of the drone attacks are down. In other words, we have 73% fewer drone attacks now than we did at the beginning just a few days ago. How about 86% less ballistic missile launches from Iran? 86%. That is drastic. Now, what you would say with these two numbers, right, is, are they waiting? What are they waiting for? It's just going to get worse. We have sunk 20 naval vessels, including their most substantial ship. And we did one with a submarine, which is the first time we've done it since World War II. And very appropriately, their ship was named the Soleimani. So we
got them twice.
We both killed them and sunk them. And 90% of the American troops now are in a range that we believe, God willing, is beyond the range of anything that can be reached by the regime of terror and evil. So let's hope, and let's pray for those that we've lost, the 6 that we've lost. We know that God is going to grant them great mercy and kindness, and that he's going to take care of taking his hands the families left behind, because they died for such a noble purpose.
Right. Put them up on the screen here.
So within the first 5 days of this, this is basically what we've accomplished. This is a quick. Oh, you want to show the pictures?
I was gonna.
Well, you can go ahead, do that. Show them the pictures of the soldiers first.
So we have here, and sorry guys, I'm going to read the names here as I put them up, and I want to make sure I'm following this correctly. First up, we have on the screen Major Jeffrey R. O'Brien of Indianola, Iowa. Next, we have right here, we have Chief Warrant Officer Robert M. Marzon of 54 of Sacramento.
These were the last. These were the last two,
right,
that were not included in the original group yesterday, largely because I guess the families hadn't been reached. But go ahead.
That's right. So these are the two. Next up, we have. Sorry, guys, I just got to pull up the. I have a list here, and I'm also trying to shift names as I do this, so just bear with me. Sergeant Declan Cody, 20 of West Des Moines, Iowa. Sergeant First Class Nicole Amore, 39 of White Bear Lake, Minnesota.
God bless him.
Sergeant First Class Noah Tegens, 42 of Bellevue, Nebraska. And Captain Cody Cork, 35 of Winter Haven, Florida. 6 fallen U.S. service members, all attached to the 103rd Sustainment Command out of Des Moines, Iowa.
And now let's just bow our heads for a silent, well, not a silent, I'll say something. Prayer. Dear God, take these very, very brave heroes into your hands. Grant them the peace and glory of eternal life with you. and grant mercy and grace to their families who have to deal with the most difficult thing that happens in life, the loss of someone you love. And let them take solace in the fact that an entire nation and world respects their heroism and the reason for their sacrifice, and protect the rest of them. Thank you, God. So the operation continues. One wonders how much Iran has left after having shown you the attacks. There are issues with regard to getting people out of there, and we're doing everything that we can to do that. But I'm going to show you a picture. I don't know if these are Americans or not. This is a beach in Dubai. You will notice in the distance some clouds. That's not clouds, that's smoke from a bomb. And then you will notice that these people are on the beach. Well, everybody to their own decision making, but well, this is even more severe than when the governor says, you're right on the beach and there's going to be a tremendous major hurricane or tsunami and you stay there. Please leave. Nobody deserves to die, even if they make wrong choices or decisions. But the fact that there are still people there that don't have to be there how long has this attack been predicted as imminent? 2 months? So those who are criticizing the government for not having done enough to evacuate are again just making trouble to make trouble. If you didn't know to get yourself out of there by 2 weeks ago, you made a choice to stay there. But still, you don't deserve to die, and we should give you every single opportunity to get out of there, and we will. And it's just a bit of a shame that resources used there might be taken away from the resources that are necessary to keep our troops safe. I hope that isn't the case. But would you please get out of there now? We don't know how long this is going to go on or how much worse it's going to get. We can look at the numbers and hope that this is going to, but there's no guarantee of that. Well, I told you before that we have a hero on tonight who has paid with the risk of his own life for hopefully the result that we're going to see, which is a free, democratic, non-nuclear Iran with freedom for women, freedom for all religions. That's where we're going, because we'll have a much greater world. And every day we get a little closer, but every day we lose more of our heroes. So tell us, this is Ali Rezazadeh, and he's been back and forth. He's been back and forth to Europe and who knows where else. Are you now in America?
Good day, Mayor. Yes, I'm back here in the United States. Such a great pleasure to join you, Mayor.
Great to see you, Ali Reza.
Yes. Yes.
So tell us first of all. I was excited and happy to see that the Kurds joined in a very, very strong way and created a second front in this war. And I don't know, is that as significant as I believe it is?
Well, Mayor, I've only seen the news reports. Some of them are actually conflicting reports. I don't know exactly what's really happening on the ground on that issue. However, as you said, it's so important to line up all of our vectors. Anyone who is able to be a part of this fight to overthrow the Iranian regime, this is the time to do it. Mrs. Rajavi, when she called for the she announced the transitional government to transfer sovereignty from the repressive rulers of Iran to the elected representatives of the people of Iran. She said that we're going to have free and fair elections within 6 months that would lead to the formation of a national and constituent assembly, and then turn over the power to this elected representatives who is going to be tasked with drafting a constitution. She immediately called on all the Iranian nations to, number one, take care of the needy, those who have been injured, just make sure everyone is protected, especially the, talking about the civilians. But she also called on all the people who are involved to overthrow the Iranian regime, saying this is the time for unity. We need to line up all our vectors to end the rule of the clerics, the same way that the people of Iran ended the rule of the Shah, the despotic ruler that had Savak, secret police, and single party rule, very corrupt. She said this is the fight against the two forms of dictatorship. The only way is actually to go forward. That's freedom and democracy. So it's an open invitation for anyone who can really be a part of it. And the real issue right now is to fight back against the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, the IRGC and the Basij. These are the people who are keeping the regime in power. This regime has never been so vulnerable, so weak, but you still have to fight it on the ground. And of course, anyone, any of the nationalities of Iran, anybody around the whole nation of Iran who can join the forces and fight the regime, that's exactly, this is the time you need it.
But Ali Reza, you in the various times that I've been with the NCRI and MEK, which now go back, 13 years? 13 years. I've seen representatives frequently of the Kurdish people as part of the NCRI. And I do believe they were part of the demonstration, that beautiful demonstration in Berlin, right, at the Brandenburg Gate. So there's a working relationship between the NCRI and the Kurds, unlike, for example, the pretender, Baby Shah, who seemed to create a war of words with the Kurds a couple of days ago.
Absolutely,
almost suggesting that if they participated, he'd go to war with them. And of course,
exactly what
some of them have said to me that they would not be part of any Iran run by the family who tortured them.
Absolutely, Mayor. It's so important to understand that the nationalities of Iran, which comprise about, anywhere from 35 to 45% of the Iranian population, that they are well represented, well protected, because under the Shah and his father, Reza Shah and Mohammad Reza Shah, they were badly suppressed, especially the Kurds, but other nationalities and minorities as well, but also under the current theocracy, because these are systems that are built on dictatorship, built on fascism. They don't tolerate any voices, legitimate voices of a nation. They just want to dictate and dominate and want them to obey. This is not going to happen. And that's why, as you said, the NCRI actually almost 40 years ago passed a resolution within the NCRI about the autonomy of the Iranian Kurdistan, and saying this is expandable to all the other minorities, saying that they have their full right to exercise their culture, their language, be able to operate their own territory within the territorial integrity of Iran, of course. And that resolution 40 years ago still is not only good, but it's very relevant today.
The group that put out the statement that drew the ire of the Baby Shah was a group that said that it agreed with the idea of being integrated within Iran under the principles outlined in, I guess it's number 7 of the 10 points of, it specifically alluded to that. And
Exactly.
that may have been what drew the ire of whatever little group is behind him. But if you need to know what they're going to be like, all you have to do is go on my X account and look at the comments made by the anonymous bots or whatever the hell he has that rip you apart if you suggest that he shouldn't be the ruler, including vicious commentary and lies. Usually, usually I don't ask people to pay attention to that, but I would look at it because this is the way a terrorist group operates. They're not what they're doing is not terribly different to what the regime does to me. They operate
Absolutely.
with the same vicious, disgusting attacks that a terrorist group. Of course, that's what they were when they were in charge. So this has to be a diversion that isn't very helpful, but I think we could overcome it. The president,
I think
the
it's
president doesn't seem
important.
to be. President doesn't seem very impressed with them.
No, certainly. I think, first of all, I think it shows the nature of anyone who is active in the political scene of Iran. On the one hand, you see the NCRI that has always been about inclusiveness, protecting the rights of all the nationalities, all the people, different religions. Even though 98% of the Iranian population are Muslim, they have always said that every single person, regardless of their views and their religion and their thoughts and beliefs, they have exactly equal rights. And they do the same thing about gender. Whether you are men or women, you're going to be treated exactly equally as a human being, unlike the mullahs who say women can't make a decision, therefore there is not a single female judge in Iran. They say they can run for serious offices like the president. That's why they're barred. And under the monarchy, they had no political representation in the system. Even the king, it's specifically mentioned the king has to be a male. That's the kind of male-dominated system that was under the Shah and misogyny under the mullahs. And that's why the NCRI is opposed to all of that, saying this is the time to respect every single person in our nation. That's why we are opposed to the dictatorship of the Shah and the current theocracy. You mentioned the Kurds. You have to add to it, the Baluchis, the Azeris, the Arabs, the Lors, the Turkmens, the Gilakis. There's a whole host of them. But interestingly, there were 5 Kurdish groups that work to announce that they're going to work together, including the Kurdish Democratic Party of Iran, who actually did have a representative speaking at our big rally in Berlin, where about 100,000 people were there. Exactly.
I do remember it, even though I was half asleep when it went on.
Yes,
remember, I was covering it at 4. I was covering it. Ted and I were covering it at 4 in the morning, and you set it up for us.
You woke up in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
early
if you ever
morning.
Want to see me, if you ever want to see me in your pajamas, you should go take a look at them.
And also, interestingly, Mayor, there's another rally coming up this coming Saturday in Washington. That everyone is coming from around the country, and the Kurds and other minorities are represented. Actually, one of the representatives of the Kurdish Democratic Party of Iran is going to speak at that rally. We're going to have our own speeches. The whole message is that the world should know that you need to see a united Iran. You don't want to see a divided Iran, that the minorities are being suppressed like they were under the Shah or the current theocracy. You want to see an Iran that is adherent to the principle of democracy and tolerance and freedom of speech, separation of religion and state, but be vehemently opposed to any kind of belligerence, like what the mullahs did, and be non-nuclear. This is the platform of Mrs. Rajavi, the 10-point plan that she has introduced. And I think it's so important for decision makers, whether they're in Washington and any other capitals around the world, that even though all the focus is on foreign attacks and all of that, but in reality, on the ground, it's at the end of the day, those on the ground who will determine the future in fighting the Revolutionary Guards, establishing democracy. They need to know that there is an alternative that is neither the Shah nor the mullahs. There is an alternative that is for democracy, for political pluralism. It's headed by a woman, Mrs. Mariam Rajavi, that changes the whole face of Iran, providing opportunity in the leadership level for women, and in favor of peace and tranquility in the region.
Well, we're going to make sure we cover Saturday with your help. And we
Absolutely.
really would be interested in interviewing the Kurd representative. That I think that would be very, very helpful. And also, I think we should point out that the president went out of his way to say that he didn't think that, of course, he referred to him, I don't know how he referred to him. I call him the baby Shah, but that he should not, that he's not really the likely person, that he seems like a nice man, but not qualified, and that it should come from within. And I think that's really the point that NCRI and the other groups that are taking up the burden of doing this are saying that this has to come. First of all, this is an internal revolution. Where, if anything, what are we doing, America and now some other country? We're helping. That's all. And we should be helping. But this is being generated and has been now back since 2014 at least by the NCRI and the other groups on the ground in Iran. And the last thing you want to do to Iran is repeat the mistakes of history. I mean, somebody imposes this guy on them. This is exactly what happened with the first Shah and the second Shah. And it was the reason the Ayatollah could take over.
Actually, Mayor, that's an important point you raised, because the father, Reza Shah, was imposed in a coup d'etat on the people of Iran. And then his son, again, in a coup d'etat, was imposed on the people of Iran, this time by the Brits. And then when the people of Iran elected, democratically elected government of Dr. Mossadegh, basically forced him out of the country, he escaped. He was put back in place with the joint operation of the CIA and the MI6 of Britain, with the full collaboration of the clerics at the time. So 3 times the whole family of, in Pahlavi dynasty came to power, all 3 times by coup d'etat, and people just basically threw them out of the country. The last one in a genuine, nationwide revolution by millions of people, because these people have no connection to the people of Iran, and their only connection they have is just how to plunder the wealth of a nation. And now the son, you have to say son of the Shah, otherwise no one knows who you're talking about. His only connection to Iran is, his deposed dictator, his father. He has never had a job in his entire life, never ran anything, and only just spending
sounds like the mayor in New York.
And how in the world can he have any sort of role, whether transition or anything, a nation of 93 million population who are fed up with dictatorship and with theocracy? So I know this is it's not going to happen, but the mere presence of him in the mix is a distraction, is an obstacle to the success of the revolution. It just preoccupies the whole thing about the future of Iran, whereas everyone has to be focused on building democracy and a future based on political pluralism.
Absolutely. It's demeaning to the sacrifice that's being made by the Iranian patriots, by our American soldiers, by the other countries in the region who have now joined. It's demeaning if they're losing their lives to put a king back on the throne who has lived all his life off stolen money from the people of Iran. I mean, it's demeaning to that sacrifice. So let's hope that serious people put that aside. But before the end of this show, we're going to play excerpts from that wonderful clip that we have of Madame Rajavi, so people can get a sense and make their own evaluation of her. I will tell you that I have known her for 13 years under incredibly tense and difficult circumstances. This is an exceptional person.
Absolutely, Mayor. That's important you mentioned,
An
because
exceptional
for-
human being. This-
for any person, any leader, you have to pass your litmus test, and your litmus
Oh, she
test
passes it way beyond
exactly.
passes it. I was with her, as you know, I was with her when the people when we were getting the people out of Iraq, and it was like we didn't know who was going to live and who was going to die, and that woman bled for every single one of them, and worked magic for them. So, well, we're going to be with her, toward the end. So you stay on and you take care of yourself, because we're going to be talking to you a few more times, and we're going to want your help on Saturday. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mayor.
God bless
Always
you.
a
my
pleasure
friend.
to be on your show.
Oh,
God
boy.
bless you, Mayor.
And when we
Appreciate
go to Tehran, you got to take me to your home city too. All right.
it. To Mashhad. My
Mashhad.
home city is Mashhad, northeast of Iran, the
Yeah,
second
yeah,
most
yeah.
populated city.
We hear a lot about it now. There's a lot of activity there.
Yes, a lot is
Yeah.
always happening there, and we need to go there. I need to visit the city, and so there's a lot of great places in Iran, and
I
bet.
bet.
Iran is a great nation, great places, great culture, great
Ma-
people.
Will I be allowed to smoke a cigar?
Absolutely, Mayor.
They cut them off. God bless you.
Thank you.
Give
Thank
my
you.
love to
Appreciate
everyone.
that.
Okay. These are remarkable people, as you can see in just talking to Ali Reza. And before Saturday, maybe we'll see if we can convince our the guy behind the scenes who orchestrates so much, Farzin, on the phone. There's another guy that's brilliant. So we're gonna take a short break, and we'll be right back. And as I said, we're going to play some of that clip from Madame Rajavi, which we played earlier in the week, but some of you may not have seen it. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at t2t.org. U.S. Army.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal, 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price. Well, it looks like Fox News.
And we're back.
Welcome back. We were just checking on a situation that is a little confusing. So we wanted to get you the latest information on it. Remember, I asked Ali Reza if there were what the Kurds were doing. There was a report yesterday that actually this morning, that the Kurds had mounted a second front, which would be very, very significant, as you know, in a war. In a war, a second front can be decisive. I mean, it's kind of the classic mistake that Hitler made, right? In opening a second front with Russia. The Kurds, as you know, are very, very experienced fighters. They were enormously helpful to us during the Iraq War and very much prized by the American military. They are also located in Syria, Turkey, Iran, and Iraq. And I missed a few, but these are the significant ones. And they do create an issue. The issue they create is one that I do want to discuss with you because it's an important sidelight here that has a bearing on it, and that is Turkey. They are not popular with the dictator in Turkey, Erdogan, who really shouldn't be popular with us. This could be something that I and the administration disagree on. Erdogan is a complete snake and would like to be the caliphate. He'd like to be the Ayatollah of the future. Is he as insane, as brutal, as terrible as the Ayatollah? Of course not. But is he a dictator? 100%. And has he really destroyed what had become sort of a model of what might be a modern Islamic country under Ataturk? The Turks were probably further along than anyone, much more than Iran, which they boast had become modernized by the Shah. I mean, there were aspects of it, sort of a showcase modernization. The women would walk around without veils and things like that. Meanwhile, a third of the population was being persecuted, and he built the prison that's now used by the Ayatollah. He developed a secret police that was the envy of East Germany and the Soviet Union. I mean, they were awful. He tortured people. He killed people. He refused to have a second political party. But he played up to the elites in the West by making it appear as if women had rights. And maybe they did have rights, but that's not the only thing that you need, women with rights. You also need a second political party. You need the protection of trial by jury. And the Kurds and the Azeris and the minorities were a particular focus of the persecution of the Shahs, Shah 1, Shah 2. And this present Shah seems to be carrying it on. He's having a war of words with the Kurds right now. And this is the worst thing he can do, because right now, a second front in the West by an experienced group of fighters. I mean, these guys were fighting in Iraq before we were. They've been fighting for their survival in Syria. They've got ammunition. They're extremely well trained. They are vouched for by our military. And those parts of Iran where they'd be coming in from are not nearly as well defended. If you could have them descending from that area into Tehran, I think this regime is gone. I think it's absolutely gone. There are conflicting accounts. The Jerusalem Post and the New York Post and 124 News claim hundreds to thousands of fighters launched limited ground offensives and have entered Iranian territory between March 2nd and 4th, taking positions in mountainous Zagros regions. Now, there are reports in BBC and Reuters that certain Kurdish leaders are denying large-scale crossing, emphasizing there are preparations, but no full invasion yet. They describe a watchdog opportunity. I think you're seeing now shots of them actually engaged in warfare. They describe, this is the group that's saying there is no major invasion, but there is preparations for one. They describe watching for opportunities as U.S. and Israeli airstrikes weaken Iranian positions in the West, which is where they are, in the west of Iran. And that they have done some targeting of border posts, police stations, and IRG installations in the Kurdish areas, but the actions are limited. Contrary to that, the Jerusalem Post, the New York Post, and 124 News, I'm not exactly sure what 124 News say, that there have been thousands of fighters that have already been engaged in ground offensives and moving through Western Iran. So remember, we're dealing with Kurds from, and they're all very contiguous. We're dealing with Kurds at least from 4 different areas. Actually, within Iran, there are 6 different groups of Kurds. So it's not a simple situation. But from my point of view, the ones I'd like to get my hands on are the ones in Iraq and the ones in Syria, because they have a tremendous amount of experience fighting, and they have weapons. And they are going to be able to contest areas of Iran that are not nearly as well defended as around Tehran or around Mashhad or around Qom, which have actually been penetrated by forces that probably aren't as equipped as they are. So you bring them into the battle, and you have a pretty, well, you got a recipe for success. Now, the CIA, and of course Mossad, has been providing arms to these groups for some time. in anticipation of what hopefully could happen. And there are, although not yet acknowledged, active talks for the Trump administration about more support to make these incursions really major. The president has reportedly spoken with Kurdish leaders and expressed an openness and said something like, I'd be all for it if you guys want to get into this, to pin down Iranian troops, create chaos, enable protests and uprisings in cities that are controlled by the IRGC or maybe appear to be controlled. And Israel has, in fact, invaded several of those areas to soften them up for the Kurds. Now, Iran itself has preemptively struck Kurdish bases that may have actually gone over the line into Iraq with missiles and drones. And the Shah, baby Shah, in this particular situation, seems to be on the side of the Ayatollah. He doesn't want these people involved, largely because they hate him and his father because they kill so many of them. Problem with that is also the position of the Azeris, who are on the other side of Iraq, who are even a larger minority group than the Kurds, more integrated into the Persian society. And the group that Ali Reza represents was actually founded by three men, two Persians and an Azeri. So that group is very, very closely aligned with the Azeris, who also have trained fighters. And Tehran has made a warning that this is a separatist movement. In other words, they want to set up a separate Kurdistan. And they do have some Kurds that I think you'd regard as traitors who fight on their side. That's why I said it's 6 different groups. So you got to be careful who you're talking about, who you're talking to, and whether they are opposed to the Ayatollah or they have been bought out and over the period of time made mouthpieces for the regime, like you had in France, where the Nazis bought out a lot of the French. You had the French resistance, and then you had the French who supported the Nazis against their own people. So we're going to have to watch this because this could be a real turning point. Part of what's going to hold this back is Erdogan. Erdogan is a vicious opponent of the Kurds, has killed them, has persecuted them, because there has always been a concern that the Kurds that live so close together in Syria, Iraq, Iran, would like a Kurdistan, not a pipe dream. If you remember, the Kurds in Iraq possess a lot of the most valuable oil properties. And when Iraq was really coming apart and being controlled by the Ayatollah, when Biden failed to get the status of forces agreement, the Iraqis kind of split off from Iran and wouldn't support the government, which was very helpful to us. So this is complicated, and it's going to be very interesting. And I don't know that it's critical to this being successful, but it can't help, but it can't in any way hurt when you have a second front and you're pretty much tied up in one already. Ooh, And this also makes up for the fact and makes it even less likely, I don't think we would, that we'd have to put boots on the ground because the Kurds have boots. And more important than boots, they have something called guns. You know what guns are, right? So let's see if I can show you what we're talking about. If I can get my little thingy out here. Oh, I gotta find the right one here. Let's see if I can get my little thingy out here. Here we go. Oh, go on. Oh, there you go. Okay, good. Now, let's see what we can do. So there is Iran. Okay, we see Iran right there. Now, what are we talking about? This is Turkey. This is the Azeri part, right here, and this is the over there, and then you have Kurds over here. So this is being hit very, very hard right in here, right? That's sort of the center of Iran. If the Kurds were to join, they could march toward Tehran from here and from here. And that would become really, in some ways, two areas that are now, they don't have to defend, which they would have to defend. And what's the worry? The worry is that this area of Turkey, see Turkey, is Kurdish. And they have always loved the idea, right, of joining with this area of Iraq, that's Kurdish, and this area of Iran, that's Kurdish. And what do we have? We have a Kurdistan. And the tyrant who runs this country sure as hell wouldn't like that, because he is hoping beyond hope that when we eliminate Iran, he's going to be the big guy. He's going to be the big Muslim, which is why he's pretended to be a Muslim for 20 years and put his wife in a thing. And one time I had dinner with him, she was eating like this. Made me very nervous. I'm sorry, it made me very nervous. I know a little too much about the history of Muhammad and the Muslim religion, and it was right after September 11, and this guy was supposed to be a hopeful ally of ours, and Bush 41 and their people kind of liked him, and Rudy had a bad impression of him. Rudy's impression of him was that this guy is going to try to play caliph, and he's going to use this crazy Muslim stuff to do it. Now, this is just me. That's all absolutely true, and he did, and I proved to be right because he's been a complete tyrant. Here's the part that comes from here. I don't know about the Ayatollah. The Ayatollahs are maniacs. Do they religiously believe this? Maybe the way Satanists believe their insane beliefs. But looking at the way I always question whether he wanted to die and really test this, going up to paradise and seeing if an old guy like him could get 72 or 79 virgins. But apparently he did believe this satanic garbage. I don't buy that with Erdogan. Erdogan is just a plain old Putin-type tyrant. and he's playing this. He's playing this, strict Muslim thing, kind of like the Baby Shah's old man, who, before he took the route of theoretically modernizing, was sucking up to all the clerics and claiming he was delivered by God to protect them. So you got, when you look at these Muslim dictators, tyrants, you got to separate them into the true believers. And if they doesn't make them any better if they're true believers, it sort of makes them satanic. What do they believe as true believers? As true believers, they believe that their mission is to wipe you out. And then you got to look at the ones who play it, who use it politically. And I would say Erdogan is in that category. And I do implore the administration, because there is a sort of like there is in our State Department is so confused. There is a sort of Erdogan group, which always amazed me because he's so obvious. And he's so obviously anti-American. And yes, of course, every once in a while he'll give in to us because the guy's a player. But on this one, he's going to do everything he can to keep the Kurds out of this. He's going to do everything he can, even though he wants to see Iran go down. I think he is banking on the fact, and he may be right, but this can all happen, although it'll take a little bit longer and more people. This can all happen without the Kurds. And then they won't get this extra impetus to try to create a Kurdistan. Now, the Iranians, the good Iranians, the NCRI, and the ones who aren't NCRI but associated with them or share the same goals for Iran, they believe that the Iranian Kurds will remain part of Iran if they're given a certain degree of autonomy. And the large number, or at least the vast majority of those 6 Kurdish groups in Iran have said that. And for now, we can use them to good effect and sort that out later when this Ayatollah is gone. So I know it's complicated, but it's extraordinarily important to getting this right. And watch, you got to keep your eye on Erdogan interfering. Nobody's covering the murder in Texas much, right, Ted?
Not a lot, but we did get some body cam footage.
But my goodness, it really was a vicious mass murder, wasn't it?
It really was.
And if the guy weren't a mad, crazy, additional Muslim killer, you think he would have gotten more coverage? If he didn't have an Iranian flag on his T-shirt? Are they still wondering if it has anything to do with Iran, with the T-shirt? I mean, not Dallas, the Austin police said he was going around yelling about Allah Akbar and all that other stuff, but they said they couldn't tell whether it was connected to the Iranian war or Israel or Allah Akbar would give you a pretty good. This reminds me of. These must be Obama cops or something. When the guy came into the base and shot up all the soldiers yelling Allah Akbar, it took Obama forever to declare that it was a terrorist act. In fact, I'm not sure he ever did. I think Trump had to do it. Well, we know what side Obama was on, right? Nobody would give all that money to the Ayatollah who kills Americans if he didn't prefer them over Americans.
We have some footage.
But I mean, to see this stuff going on in Texas is scary, that a police department would have trouble recognizing that this guy is another example.
Well, the one thing we want to do is
of the influence that Muslim extremism is having on America, including on Texas.
So the officers, so of course our criticism is for the leadership. We got to give some credit to the officers responding to the scene. They were there and they took him down within a minute.
Oh, the officers were terrific. I mean, nothing wrong with the officers. It's the political apparatus.
Here's some footage that was released just today from the Austin Police Department.
I'm with you. Right here, Peter, saying it's an AR-15, AR-15 or less. Down! Everybody down! 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 Where? Down! Down! Where is he? Where? We don't know. Right there, right there! Hey! Front 2 shots fired, 1 down. Hey, don't move! 6 on West Ave. Over there. He's on 6th Street.
You have a microphone there?
I do. I took a
Where
shot.
is it? Who shot?
I think the video. If you see, he's down on the ground straight ahead there.
The suspect is down.
So that's the body cam footage that came out today. So they took him down within a minute.
Well, luckily, because we don't know, right? We don't know how many. We don't know how many he would have that he would have killed, right?
Right.
But it now is apparent since he had an Iranian flag on his T-shirt.
Yep.
And he has a whole background of being an Islamic extremist.
Yep.
That this is a terrorist murder that is connected to what's going on between Israel, the United States, and Iran.
Right.
And yes, it's an insane person, but so is the Ayatollah. And covered up because it just illustrates the inroads that the Muslims have made in the United States, trying to turn our cities and, like in Minnesota, maybe a state into Islamic republics. I mean, they fight over whether Sharia law should be. Of course, Sharia law shouldn't be allowed in the United States. I mean, Sharia law is still, that's unless women want to be stoned, we shouldn't have Sharia law.
Right.
So shall we take a break?
No, I have breaking news.
Oh, would you want to come on and tell us the breaking news?
I could tell you real quick.
Let's give her a microphone.
I'll just tell you. Moments ago, the House passed a bill to fund DHS through September 30th. So the partial shutdown is done.
DHS is now funded because they had to sacrifice Christy Noem. So this is like Abraham and Isaac, huh? Except in this case, God didn't intervene. So I do want to say something about Christy Noem. Christy Noem did a great job. Christy Noem accomplished more than anyone had any right to expect in the period of time that she was head of the Department of Homeland Security. The Department of Homeland Security, although it's had some great secretaries, has also had some terrible secretaries. And it also is been considered, even by some of the great ones, an inherently incoherent agency because it was put together at the last minute. What I always thought was a very, very bad idea by the Bush administration. I, from the very beginning, was opposed to it as just a hodgepodge of agencies to put together in which there wasn't a great deal of coherency. And some of the agencies were taken out of very established law enforcement structures, taking the agencies out of the Justice Department, which is a law enforcement agency, and creating this sort of bastardized agency that did a lot of other administrative and functional things. It didn't seem to me that you were going to create the very, very best law enforcement agency, where instead you could have had the influence of the FBI, the marshals, the DEA. I thought it functioned much better within that. Question whether the Treasury Department agencies that it took over the Coast Guard, it took over what was the other?
What's
Oh,
that?
the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. A group of it took over a group of law enforcement agencies that no one really had thought out where do they really belong. Then it took on a lot of administrative functions, and so it became a very, very difficult agency to run. It's had some excellent secretaries, and in my view, this had been one of the better ones, if not the best one. And I think of course, she didn't accomplish everything. She was only there a year and a couple of months, but the accomplishments are historic. I mean, yes, the president gets great credit for it, but you can't do it without people. And she was running the people, and she did a miracle. Under Biden, we're looking at 3.5 million coming in. Under Trump, we're looking at nothing coming in. How many children have been saved as a result of their quick emphasis on that? So what becomes the failing? The failing is that she called one of these, I don't know which one, maybe both of them, a domestic terrorists. The people that were killed by ICE, they were domestic terrorists. There's no doubt about it. They're both trained. They were both trained to disrupt very serious law enforcement operations where predictably a tremendous amount of violence could be caused by their obstructing lawful arrests. The second one was actually trained in a process that they have actually named. The Soros-funded terrorists have named it. Not just Soros. A lot of the left wing funded. A lot of the left wing funds these groups. It's called rearrest. How do you disrupt an arrest? And the guy followed exactly the script that he was taught. And we showed it to you. I mean, they have a drawing of it, and they have examples like, how do you, ones that I never can follow with all these electronics. You put A into B and B into C and C into D, and then it doesn't work. Well, they have a thing where they show you what you have to do. So 3 or 4 ICE agents are arresting an illegal alien. 70, 80% of the time, this is a violent criminal that they're dealing with. And about 40% of the time, a pervert. Those are actual statistics. And they're going to interfere with it. They interfere with it by the first one usually comes along and tries to distract one of the ICE agents, usually in a somewhat peaceful way by asking an unrelated question. And depending on how many people they have. Then a second one will come along and create a dispute with another agent. Maybe even a physical encounter of some kind, push them back and forth. That may distract a third agent. And then, depending on whether they're working in groups of 3 or 4, the guy will come in for the kill. What's the kill? The kill is now you're down to 1 agent, the perp, and you can give the perp a chance to escape. That is exactly what they were doing. I can show it to you on the film. I traced it out 4 times. And the guy who was eventually killed was engaged in doing that, and it didn't work. It ended up in a scrum in which he was in the middle of that scrum and was irresponsible or malicious enough to carry a gun with him in the middle of an operation intended to obstruct an arrest. The gun came out and went off. The agent watching it could not see the gun, heard the gun go off. At the time that the gun went off, he heard the word gun recited, had 3 at least of his fellow officers in that scrum with the bad guy. and had to say to himself, that could have been one of my guys just got shot. And if that gun goes off again, maybe the second one gets shot and the third one, I got to put this bad guy out. And he does. Give him a medal. He just saved lives. Or at least that had to be his state of mind. What he didn't know, and you can see he didn't know it because you can see it on film, is that at that point, one of his fellow agents had gone behind and pulled the gun out. He may have been the one who set the gun off. We're not sure yet. And he's the one who yelled gun. But the agent didn't see that. And this all happens like this. She would have been somebody for whom I would have had no respect ever in my life if she had turned on that officer. And instead, she became, to me, a hero. So I don't know what else you want to say about her, but she's got the best numbers I've ever seen for a Homeland Security secretary. The place where she supposedly acted out of hand or whatever she didn't. That is a creature of that's a creature of the left wing that we're kind of caving into. The first incident with the woman, she was driving a massive truck into an agent, attempting to kill him. Or if she wasn't, she sure was pretending to. with her husband, wife, whatever it was, yelling and screaming at her, knowing that the agent was right in front of the car. Drive, baby, drive. If baby were to drive, which she did, she would kill the agent. The agent had only one choice, which was to shoot at her. There was no time to successfully escape left or right, because if he went in one direction, he'd go right in the middle of the fender of the massive truck coming down on him. And if he went the other way, he could slip on the ice, or the truck could veer off just a teeny bit and kill him. His mind had to operate almost by instinct. Now, here's the issue, which we maybe will never resolve, unless the girlfriend, or whatever she is, the wife, tells the truth. It could be that the woman who did it wasn't even looking and didn't know there was an agent in front of her. But wifey did. And wifey was telling her to drive, baby, drive. And she could have been just automatically reacting to that instinct. Now, what supports that? The wifey immediately broke down crying, saying, I caused this, I caused this. All of these much more complicated facts are not explained because the effort is to victimize and get a scalp, in this case, Kristi Noem's scalp. Then, of course, there's she did advertisements. And she did advertisements as governor for her state to get business there so she could. Yes, so have, 50 other governors that I've seen, including a lot of Democrats, including Newsom Poosum, who does that, or Cuomo, who did it. Any one of them who are photogenic appear. Some of them don't do it because they'd lose votes. I mean, can you imagine Fat Pritzker doing it? What is he going to do, for pretzels? You come here and get fat like me and be an out-of-control, undisciplined slob because you're very rich and never had to work a day in your life. I mean, she's a very attractive woman, as Newsom is an attractive man, and as Cuomo thinks he is an attractive man, and therefore makes a nice image for her state. I don't know if she was running for president then. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't think so. Maybe vice president. Who knows? But this is not unusual for a governor. This is not like the first governor who did travel ads for her state. I'm pretty sure I did it when I was mayor. I did one after September 11th, but I used people that were more famous than me and more photogenic. I wouldn't fit in the category of, matinee idol like Newsom Poosum. Nor am I unrealistic enough like Cuomo to think that I am. So I use Barbara Walters and Henry Kissinger and Oprah Winfrey when she would talk to me. A lot of liberals who used to talk to me then. Now they hate me, which is, of course, one of the reasons why I'm a great American. If I say so myself, I shouldn't.
I'll say it.
If I say
You
so
are a great
myself,
American.
I shouldn't.
You're one of the greatest.
You
Americans.
should know that the new alleged Ayatollah, son of the old Ayatollah, kind of like son of the Shah, right? They love this son of thing.
Good.
Right.
Way to put
this
that out,
this guy. Now, this is an irrelevant fact, and we shouldn't take any. We shouldn't really do anything with this. But I am. This will be known as, in the old days they used to say Gregory the Great or Peter the Great or Ivan the Terrible.
Yeah.
The Terrible.
Yeah, we don't do that anymore.
So this will be Khomeini the Infinite.
Yep. I knew you were going with that.
Khomeini the Infinite. This will be a guy who's going to be the head of this country, and it appears as if he doesn't have any sperm.
I'm saving that one.
He had to go 4 times for treatment. Now, I don't know why they did this. Apparently, the ones who got him some sperm was in the UK. Why would we allow these people to reproduce? I mean, we shouldn't interfere with their reproducing themselves, but we got to go out of our way to help these monsters reproduce themselves. Well, it apparently didn't work because his wife and his kid got blown away either by the Israelis or the Americans, but he's still around, and he's apparently just as nuts as this old man. And he was selected as the son of Khomeini, the grandson of Khomeini was also in the running. But apparently the son of Khomeini has been selected as the new Ayatollah. It is rumored that his father wanted somebody else named Ali Reza. Of course, it's like my friend. I remember the Ali Reza part. Azadi, I think. But Ali Reza Azadi is up there still searching around for the 72 virgins. And he's very, very confused by the fact that he's surrounded by a lot of fire and not finding any virgins. A whole bunch of them are walking around with a lot of fire around.
Sweating.
And I don't know what kind of reception the Ayatollah is getting, who promised them all these virgins, because there ain't none up there. Or as Saturday Night Live once said when they were funny, nobody ever told them what these virgins would look like. Nowadays, if Saturday Night Live did that, there'd be a fatwa against them, and they would censor it because it would offend the murderers. I never really cared if I offended murderers. So I think we've covered most everything that needs to be covered. The son, I don't know if he's actually in place yet, and I don't know if this is like official, but it is pretty much and pretty authoritative that he's the new Ayatollah. It may be that nobody really wants to acknowledge the fact that they're the new Ayatollah because the Israelis have a missile that says new Ayatollah, right? Don't you think?
Yeah.
They have Ayatollah 1, 2, and 3. They're willing to go through 3 rounds of Ayatollahs.
Well, another name is emerging, Mayor, as a potential replacement. No word from him yet.
Where'd you get that from?
X.
Laura Loomer?
Yeah, look, we got to
Did
call
you get that
Laura.
from Laura Loomer?
Yeah.
Did you see what did she name him? Something son?
Tucker Katarlson.
Qatar,
Tucker Katarlson.
Qatarison.
Fitting Cutter in there, yeah.
But what I mean,
We got to call Laura.
if it is true that Qatar is paying off Tucker Carlson, they're now getting bombed.
Yeah,
They're getting
yeah,
bombed by. That was a dumb mistake. Can't they call Tucker and say we're on the other side now?
Maybe
Tuck,
you should take. Yeah.
Tuck, you got to be against the Ayatollah now because he's shooting us.
Well, the president also came out today with his harshest language against Tucker. He's basically calling him out, saying he doesn't understand what he's talking about. So that was nice to see.
Well, that's good. I mean, I never understood from the day he interviewed Fuentes with that and put Fuentes on his lap and started, and then that incredibly insane conversation about women.
Right.
And then Piers Morgan
He really did it.
ripped Fuentes apart and got him to admit that he's 27 and he's never had sex. Texas. We're going to end with Texas.
Texas.
Since I have all my political experts here.
That's right.
So
I predicted it.
the president is going to ask that whoever he doesn't pick of the two, we're just talking about two people, Cornyn and Paxton, that they step down and support the other for fear that this a real phony who only looks like they call him moderate. The guy is very moderate because he doesn't believe in 52 genders.
Right.
He only believes in 5. He has 5 genders. And I saw him giving a speech about 5 genders with a church in back of it or an altar in back of it. So what church lets you go talk about 5 genders?
Yeah.
I don't have my Bible with me. But what do they miss the first chapter of the book of Genesis? God, who is in fact supreme to these idiots, made it clear because he repeated it twice. I created them, man and women. I created them. And then he says, second, in the same chapter of Genesis, man and women. He says it twice, just so that people like Justice Jackson don't have to make fools out of themselves when they're asked, can you define a woman? They can say, oh, in the first book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse, I don't remember, 18 maybe. God said, I created them man and women. Man and women, I created them. So God was rather emphatic that there were only 2. But this guy, what kind of religion is he? They say he's very religious, but it's a 5-gender religion, so he can't be a Christian.
Right. What is he?
And he's contradicting the first chapter of Christianity and Judaism, the book of Genesis.
Right.
He's like a left-wing maniac. But he was running against Jasmine Crockett, who's just plain old fool and clown, right? He was running against a clown. And the Democrats all went with him because they thought that a left-wing American hater would be better than a clown.
Right.
So this leaves it up to Cornyn or Paxton to defeat him. And they were neck and neck. And I was a supporter of Paxton, I may add. But I do think you probably have to defer to the guy who got the most votes. I mean, yeah, it's only X number of votes, but it's still an election, and the Republican Party got a chance to have its say, and a few more Republicans than not pick Cornyn. So what else are we going to base it on? Divine right? We're not for that, right?
That's a good point. And unfortunately, whether it's fair or not, right, the power of the incumbency, I think, is at play here. We talk to people, and a lot of folks.
Well, I don't know. I think if Paxton were the winner, if Paxton had more votes, there'd be a good argument you should go with Paxton.
Oh, of course. But I'm saying Cornyn was able to win or get the plurality in the primary. And I think he benefited from the power of incumbency.
He did.
Name
However
ID.
he got it, we're supposedly, with a small d, we're a Democrat country. Hopefully we'll never, ever again be a Democrat country with a big D. There'll be a new political party. It can be liberal. It can be for low taxes. It can be for lots of things. It just has to be for the United States. Right? To be a political party in the United States, you have to be able to support the United States. Democrats haven't done that, in a decade. They're for everything to destroy us. But I don't exactly know what the president's going to do to decide this. Maybe he wants to talk to both of them. I do think the president should be granted this
Decision.
privilege. He is the leader of the party, right? And it's his agenda that we're going to have to try to get through in the last 2 years.
Right.
So we should give him who he thinks would be the most helpful to accomplishing his agenda, when Republicans seem to be 50-50. But this isn't the first person that wins 49, 51-49, right?
Right. It's interesting here, though, because I would say both Paxton and Cornyn are well known, because people, like you mentioned this before, it's often the second place person wins the runoff, because the first place person, you're either with them or you're not.
Yeah.
On the first ballot, I think in this case, Paxton almost fits that similar position as Cornyn, right? He's really well known. He's got high name ID. If you're not voting for Paxton on the first ballot, are you going to vote for him on the second? Right? Because
I think it's impossible to figure that out in this situation, because the third party candidate's a bit of an enigma. If the third party candidate was clearly rhino oriented, right?
Right.
And then you would say Cornyn's going to win. If the third party candidate was very, very heavily MAGA, then you would say it's going to definitely support Paxton.
You're referring.
But he's neither. That usually happens when it happens in these. You're going to have a primary coming up in Columbia soon, and there'll be a 1 and 2. Right. What you got to look at is what's left, and what ideology do they have. If there are more left that have the ideology of the right, then the right-wing guy is going to win, whether he's first or second. If there are more left who have the ideology of the left, then the other guy is going to win. Here, I don't know that this guy was clearly defined. You
And
see
that,
what I'm
that
saying?
actually would be the biggest kicker with it. But it could, how much of voting for this third guy was about going anti-establishment with regard to both Cornyn and Paxton, because they both are sort of seen as the old guard.
Yeah,
in a lot of
yeah,
ways.
it was.
So-
it was.
so-
So which way would those people? Well, first of all, a lot would stay home, but which way would they go? That's hard to know. I think Paxton is sort of stuck with listening if the president says Cornyn, because Paxton's real. Why am I for him? Because you think he's more loyal to Trump.
Exactly.
So if Trump says, I'd rather give up whatever loyalty that is to make sure we have the Senate, I think you got to listen to him.
But here's the thing too, is what's Cornyn going to do in the Senate, like right now for us, right? Like there are certain things that like.
Well, what he's going to do is he's going to vote for the majority leader, which is the single most important vote he casts.
Right. That's really
Which is
The
something
mayor
that
would-
all of these jackasses don't realize.
right.
That is like, you want to be in politics, don't be a child.
Right. And the mayor just pointed out really the number
Just
one.
don't be a
reason-
baby.
And that really and unfortunately, I know a
I
lot
watch
of our
it.
audience,
Marjorie Taylor Greene is like a baby.
and a lot of our audience, I'm sure, are with Paxton. The mayor's
I'm with Paxton.
Yeah, but a point like that may be what's making the president lean towards Cornyn in this case, right? It's so important. We can't lose.
I haven't talked to the
that seat.
president about it.
No, we're just,
even in the past. I don't have any sense of what he's thinking. I'm just going to make a political analysis like you would if you didn't know. He's going to go with Cornyn.
Well, and here's maybe the thing. Let's let's see, that could very well be, but it's also more of an incentive for Cornyn to really perform in the Senate for us coming up. You know, we got some big business there.
Corn is not the worst. Corn is not the worst anyway.
Right.
I mean, this isn't
Susan Collins,
this isn't Collins or that.
Murkowski,
Murkowski's the worst.
Murkowski, and then
But
Collins.
even her, we need her vote for the. If we got a nice margin, I wouldn't mind throwing her out, even if we got a Democrat.
Right.
But right now,
we need it.
Right now, with how insane the Democrats are,
Right.
we need that vote to control. Let's assume for a moment that the Democrats win the House and they do all these impeachments. They're still not going to impeach him if we lose the Senate because you need 2/3 votes. They're not going to get 2/3 votes. But they are going to get a Senate leadership that runs the trial. And they'll run the trial to be a disaster. If you let Schumer or whoever, maybe they'll finally replace Schumer, because it really is hard having one of the biggest traitors to his people in the history of Judaism as the head of the Senate. It really is hard. I mean, the guy should be under a rock. But if it is Schumer or whoever replaces Schumer, they won't be able to get him impeached, I mean, voted out, but they will be able to control the trial. So it does become important to have a Republican majority leader who can keep the trial under control and maybe convince the Chief Justice by sending him to the UK, where the son of the Ayatollah became potent, and see if we can send Roberts there and he could just dismiss the case. Because there's nothing saying that the Chief Justice can't dismiss the case. There's nothing saying that he can. But if there's nothing saying you can't and nothing saying you can do what you want. Just like Pence could have done what he wanted, because there was nothing prohibiting him from accepting the requests of 4 legislatures or even groups from that legislature to postpone so they could check a little more carefully. It turns out in 2 cases, because it is now proven that they were wrong and that Trump would have prevailed. Well, that's all we're going to say for tonight, because we're getting on and we have lots of to cover and work on for tomorrow. I want to see if anything goes any further with these Kurds, because this could be really helpful to getting this over quickly and supply the boots on the ground and keep Baby Shah out from creating another dictatorship there, similar to what we did twice before. And also, the Baby Shah, if he is imposed, will continue whatever amount of American hatred exists, which I think is being extinguished beautifully by President Trump and even by Bibi. But you put that Baby Shah back, and you're going to bring back a lot of the memories of, British Petroleum taking over in the early part of the 20th century, CIA taking over in the middle of the 20th century. And a lot of that hatred of America had to do with throwing the Shah out on the theory there would be a democratic Iran, and then in comes the Ayatollah. And when he started going after America, he knew what he was doing, because they hated us for dictating their future. President Trump has done a great job making this their revolution, which it is. We should not interfere with it by bringing bad history back. I just wish a lot of these people knew history better and what it leaves behind. Well, with that, let's pray for the people of Iran, for the people of Israel, for the people of Ukraine, who we haven't had a chance to talk about much. They're sort of in the background, but they're still being killed by Putin. particularly pray for our soldiers and sailors who are at risk, and our civilians who are at risk, the diplomats and the others, the civilian employees, and pray for the people who were left behind. Maybe they didn't react fast enough to leaving. Maybe something they couldn't. But my goodness, these people don't deserve to die, dear God. And pray for all of us, because we do have an enemy that could strike anywhere and is insane enough to do that. So pray for all of us. We're all in some degree of risk, although certainly not as much as the people right on the line. And of course, as we always ask you, dear God, this time we're going to ask you to pray for the souls of our 6 heroes. We're going to pray to our 6 heroes because I believe they're with you to help us. And we're going to pray also for the families so that they can deal with the most difficult thing that could ever happen to them, and that they can embrace how much a nation loves them. No one conveys that better than President Trump. And I'm so glad he's going to be there when they come back. And he's not going to be looking at his watch. Is he? God bless them all. There they are. Without them, we don't have a future. God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common sense. So let's do it. It's our